Yes. Good morning, everybody. All right, Ryan's in the studio in Johannesburg, as is Mash. We will be with them in just a moment, and I hope your day is off to an awesome start. It is 6 o'clock. Rise and shine. You've got to keep the economy moving. I watched a couple of interviews yesterday. I was trying to catch up on, some local politics, which I've tried to avoid. And then I just realized, I just realized the other day, Ryan, like I can't avoid this stuff. Unfortunately, it's part of my job and it's part of my life. And I've tried to steer away from it, but I actually have to see what's going on there. So I caught up yesterday, did some research in the evening and afternoon. I went to gym. I was very productive yesterday. I actually got quite a lot done. I was proud of myself, despite having a very rough start to the day. And with very little sleep, I think I made up for it last night. So, woohoo! Good morning.
Brilliant.
How are you?
Let's go. I'm all good. I'm all good.
Good morning.
Yeah, good. Morning. And for some reason, Ash is not on the microphone.
Again. Mash, are you on? Are you on there?
I'm on
there we go. We got Mash on.
There we go. Yesterday was freezing.
No, he's not on. Not on.
He's not on?
No, wrong microphone. Try the other one.
Try the other one?
What other
one?
Still not on.
Mash, it would help if you got there on time. We could test these things.
It would definitely help.
Ryan, you try and figure that one out in the meantime. All right, I'll take you guys off quickly while you figure yourselves out. Anyway, yeah, got quite a lot done and felt quite happy with myself. I got a message yesterday, sort of mid-morning, and I thought it's from a friend and distant relative, and he said, there's this mate of ours who died this morning, and I thought, huh? But he usually takes the piss, so I just ignored it. And then later on in the day, I saw another friend of mine posting this thing about, how sad he was that this friend of ours is no longer. And I thought, oh, gee, this is real? So then I messaged another friend, checked on this, and apparently, like, one of my good mates, and I mean, really, there was a point probably just before COVID, and even maybe during a little bit, when we were seeing each other regularly, like, I mean, every month at very least. And I mean, this guy was he was a champion. He was about to get married. I think he was actually introducing his girlfriend to his family in Germany this week. That was why he was away. Absolute incredible guy. He's like a crack shot with a pistol. He was like one of those tactical kind of SWAT sort of sharpshooter type guys. He was like the second best in the country. I mean, Dan could pick up a gun.
Sure.
With virtually no time, he could pick up a gun and he could take a shot at a target and just hit it right in the fucking bullseye every time. He was absolutely devastating. He was also super fit, healthy, no like room in his life for mental health bullshit, but he was a kind, good person too. And went to gym yesterday morning, apparently, and just collapsed. This is while he's on holiday with his family in Germany. Just collapsed, had a heart attack. 30, oh God, Dad must have been like 36, 37, 38, somewhere around there. Couldn't have been any older than that. And this guy's dead. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Someone in his 30s just collapsing and having a heart attack. I was completely blown away. So yesterday, while I'm at gym, I'm thinking about this and thinking, you better not overdo it, old man.
Jeez,
but
that is terrifying.
It's horrible, right, Mash? And this is not the first case I've heard of this. I mean, it's the first time it's happened to someone close to me. And there was nothing, he didn't have any underlying heart condition. He didn't have any health concerns that any of us knew about. And Dan was, he never drank. This guy didn't drink. That was another thing about him. Didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't drink. So healthy dude. And then of course, your mind immediately goes to like the vax, because suddenly all these young people are having these heart situations that they're more common now than they've ever been for younger men. And a lot of people are saying it could have something to do with this vaccine. Now, I know he was also a big anti-vaxxer, and that's no longer a swear word, because it turns out being the anti-vaxxer was the smart position. I don't think that's even a controversial thing to say anymore. If you look at what's happened since then, Pfizer have had to admit that they knew very early on that this vaccine didn't do much to stop the spread. If anything, it did nothing, in fact, to prevent the spread between people. It may or may not have kept some older people out of hospital, which is a plus, obviously. But other than that, useless. Certainly not worth giving your children. Certainly wasn't worth giving to people under a certain threshold. I'd say maybe 60 years old. And yet the whole world was forced to do this fucking thing. Now, I'm not saying this is what, he had. I'm not even sure if he had it or not. But this is what a lot of people are starting to talk about. And it just, it makes me so mad to think of how people were demonized if they didn't want to do this vaccine. If they just thought to themselves, and you guys remember this, it was just a couple of years ago, right? And if you just said, look, I'm okay. I think I'll be all right. I'm just going to, if I get COVID, I get COVID. I'll deal with it. And I'll build up my own immunity and my own resistance. And if I get sick, it'll be like a bad flu. And that's what happened to a lot of people. And you think about all the demonization that took place and how you had these people calling you an anti-vaxxer. And it was like you were some kind of Cro-Magnon man with no brains, because you decided you weren't going to put some untried, untested thing into your body, which even the pharmaceutical companies now admit was an experiment at best.
Friends and family split up.
Yeah, you had
there's still people that there's like damage, permanent damage.
Right. Yeah. And it's this, it's the heart. It's this myocardial problem, which even Hardy Dave is saying here now. My pops had a post-vax myocardial problem. It's personal. We got lied to. Someone got rich. Many got locked down. Lives were changed as a result of this. Ostracized. Do not remind me. I'm telling you now, I thought about this yesterday. I was doing a show on ENCA at the time. You guys will remember. And it was a weekly show, which we were doing. And the one week we had this guy on who's a conspiracy theorist, because one of the big things that were going on in the world at the time was that conspiracy theories were being promulgated left, right, and center. It's someone trying to control the world. There's this going on, all kinds of wacky things. So we thought we would get the world's most famous conspiracy theorist on, a guy called David Icke. And we had him on, and he talked mostly quite sensibly about things. And then obviously he went off about like the Jews and some other bullshit that nobody needed. But, I got into so much trouble. And so did my business partner, Rena, who manages me, because, this guy was talking about, all kinds of things. And we got like Media Monitoring South Africa, which is this group of complete fucking lunatics who have no place getting involved in everybody's business. They came after us, and I was accused of spreading mis and disinformation. And, they tried to get the show canceled, and they took us to the press ombudsman, or even, I can't even remember. I think it was even court. And I remember having to fight the fact that lockdowns were not necessarily a proven good idea. I remember having to fight the fact that these vaccines were untried and tested, but I wasn't against it. I mean, you remember I had the Pfizer, right?
Sure.
And now I look at this and I think these people who went after me on that show because they complained about how I was spreading dis and misinformation. Where are they now? Where's their apology? Like they wanted me to issue one. Where are they? I want to go after those people. I want to find William Bird from Media Monitoring South Africa. I want this guy. I want him to explain himself now. I'd like to hear what he has to say right now.
No one will explain themselves now.
No, of course not. And neither will the governments of the world who made these decisions. I want to know where these people are, who in the light of everything that's come out in the last year and a half, and we found out lockdowns did more damage than good. We found out the vaccine did nothing to stop the spread. We found out that a lot of these drug companies knew that there was either the potential for dangerous side effects, which, let's face it, there always is, right? And most medicines have counter, activity and they have contraindications and they have all kinds of other things. But I have to say to you, like this, we need, just like they were demanding that people who were skeptical of this stuff must shut up. They were telling us, you have no business, you are not a scientist, you are not a doctor. And even doctors who were saying things like we were saying were shut out. The Burlington Declaration, those people were told, sorry, you got to shut up. It's for the public good. We've decided. And people in the media and people at independent media organizations like this media monitoring shit, these people were going after them saying, you're spreading misinformation. I want those people to account for themselves like they were asking us to account for ourselves. I want answers from them. I don't think we should let them go. I think we should sue them in courts. I think ordinary people should be phoning these places up every day and saying, you know what, actually, I want you to stand for what you believed in 2.5 years ago, and I want you to explain why you took that position, because you were wrong, clearly wrong, and you went after other people. Now it's your turn. We're coming after you.
Did you see that video that went viral? I think it was taken down on all platforms except for Twitter, where they confronted the Pfizer CEO.
Yeah,
there was a reporter who literally,
right at Davos, he went after him, and the guy was like, he wouldn't give any answers.
He wouldn't give any answers.
What a
didn't
piece
apologize.
Of shit, that guy.
Oh, geez.
And Facebook took it down. YouTube took it down. All of these social media platforms took it down except for Twitter. Elon Musk made sure.
Right. Right.
Unreal.
I mean,
it's unreal how everyone's stuck together on this. Like it was.
I mean, I remember it's social media as well. There were even campaigns running, and influencers were recruited to just be like, I vaccinated, you should vaccinate too. And many influencers were doing this. In fact, one of my friends actually got in touch with me because it's like a little community, this influencer community. And they were like, hey, come join us on this campaign. It's paying this much. Come on. I was like, no amount of money is worth me, lying like that.
Well,
it's not.
I reckon don't you think, Mash, that all those people should also have themselves put on a list, just like they made a list of all the people who were spreading disinformation. Turns out that they were right.
But they were just being paid.
I mean, I know he's kidding, but there are a couple of people on here like Carl saying, Gareth, you're being a whiny little bitch. But I think that we will make a huge mistake if we let these people get away with it, because they'll try it again. See, the problem is, with people like this, it's actually got nothing to do with how right or wrong they are. They love telling everyone else what to do. That's their whole thing. There are people in this world, you can call them Karens. You remember the neighbors who were like splitting on each other. They're those people who were telling the government that there was someone on the beach when you're not allowed on the beaches. You remember those people?
Yeah.
Yes.
Those people, we need to hold their feet to the fire. I'm sorry. Because you know what'll happen? They'll carry on doing this. They'll do it again. They'll try it again. Anyway, so I'm obviously a little bit pissed off, but I'm obviously a little bit sad this morning too, and the two are not related. I was already talking about this at lunchtime yesterday when I was talking to Gary Hertzberg and Rena. So I'm on the warpath. They're people I'm going to hold responsible for the things that they were trying to do in the media environment. Forget about anywhere else, because this is the environment I can do something about, right? Anyway, here's Sean. He says, my wife's mom passed 4 months after getting the vax. Stroke. She was a healthy individual, and just like that. Well, look, I mean, again, the two might not be related. So let's just be sensible about it. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to be spreading lies. And I know, and I'm sorry, Sean, I'm sorry about, what happened to you. But I do think, you remember how they said anyone who's taking hydroxychloroquine is a, lunatic, and You're on horse tranquilizer. They went after Rogan. They went after a lot of people. There were doctors in South Africa who were secretly prescribing this stuff to their patients. And I didn't hear of anyone who died from that, but I heard of people who either died of COVID or people who died of, heart attacks, suspicious, weird heart attacks that came out of nowhere. So you figure it out. Hardy Dave got booted off of Facebook and had to go incognito on YouTube. My sister in Ireland says when we had all the vax and boosters tested positive last week for the 5th time. Seriously, it's just a cold now, I'm sure, but in Ireland, it's still a massive thing. Rusty says, cancer is at unprecedented levels. I'm grateful that you're talking about it, Gareth. Us anti-vaxxers were ostracized. Yeah. I mean, Hardy Dave says germ warfare, Jeremy, who we had on the show a couple of times, is a bum, he says, but he was right to ask questions. It was good of him to foster a community of resistance. Yes, it was. And aren't you pleased that there are people in this society of ours who don't just swallow every pill? Who don't just take everything at face value, who question things? I don't question everything. I'm not one of those people who's just rebellious for the sake of it. But you need people like that in the world. We've all got to, for God's sake, we've made some terrible, terrible mistakes. The governments of the world have made some terrible mistakes in the last 3 years. Awful, stupid, ham-handed mistakes that have cost lives and have cost countless jobs, have ruined people's businesses, etc., etc. They need to be held responsible. If you do bad shit, you need to be held responsible. I know in a country like ours, because no one ever goes to jail, we think that, you should be able to get away with this stuff. But no, you shouldn't.
But then who will hold the government responsible?
I think we've got to hold them responsible at the polls. And that's why, for example, I'm not going to be going on about this for much longer because we haven't actually spoken about it for ages. So it's not like we've been harping on this forever and ever. But I will not forget that while the ANC were all for this, there was also a contingent of other people in the DA and other parties who were also saying, we must do this, and we must lock down hard, and we must follow these rules. Like Alan Winde, the premier of the Western Cape, who's a DA guy, he was very much pro-lockdown. And I haven't forgotten.
Yes.
I've kept a mental note of these things. I don't want to see him on the DA's slate for the next elections. He is going to put me off of them. So I'm going to remember the Minister of Health, who at that stage was that crook who became, he became like overnight, he became a hero to some people. He became a villain to other people. I can't even remember his name now. What was his name? The former Minister of Health, man.
No idea.
With the digital vibes thing. His fucking name. Someone will know in the comments.
Look it up.
In a minute.
Nash will look it up.
Hareen says, what about ivermectin? They were wrong and they've shut up. They'll have to shut up in the future. Well, they won't. This is the problem with these people. Unless you actually take them and hold them by the scruff of their neck and say, you were wrong, admit it. They won't. Non-experts telling others who were non-experts while sometimes we were experts. Ugh, fuck them. In Austria, the unvaccinated were put in lockdown for 3 months. Only the unvaccinated. You see, I mean, that's...
Yes.
That's not...
It was Zweli Mkhize during COVID times.
Zweli bloody Mkhize. That crook. You remember
I don't know if you saw Piers Morgan actually got attacked about this.
Did he?
On Twitter.
Because he was very pro-vax, very pro-lockdowns, Piers Morgan.
That's it.
I think he's moderating his position now. He's saying, oh, well, I might have been wrong. Or, I hope he does. I hope these people admit it.
Everybody screenshotted his tweets from the lockdown times. And, he said, if you're not getting vaccinated, you're ignorant, blah. You know how Piers Morgan goes.
Yes.
And then somebody screenshotted all of those and said, what we'll never forget, Piers. And he said, that's fine. I've altered my way of thinking now, but I haven't deleted those tweets. But I've come into more information, and I can change my position.
Yeah.
Well, it's just at the time.
At the time, you know what he was saying about unvaccinated people? Horrible things. So actually, screw you. And I'll say this, like, you can go and look at someone's timeline. They don't have to be a famous person like Piers Morgan. You can go and look at someone's timeline now, and you could see what they said about this in 2020 when they were frightened little sheep.
Yes.
And you know what kind of people you're dealing with. You know that these are the people in a crisis situation you should just stay the hell away from. They are no use to the rest of humanity. Frightened little sheep who will do exactly what they're told and will gang up on the good people. Mob mentality.
Yep.
So now we know.
I see
Anyway.
Hardy
All
Dave
right.
says he's stockpiled on so much toilet paper, no one's going to catch him off guard.
Well, I learned.
Remember when people was. Yeah?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Remember
Matt.
when people were stockpiling toilet paper during COVID times? What was the reason for that? To this day, I never got that. Because I was like, it's not like we're shitting a lot because of COVID.
No, because the transport shops couldn't get stock because they would shut down the roads, and then eventually they had to get special clearance passes and all that kind of stuff to stock the shelves. So dumb.
Well, you remember also like the liquor situation when they banned cigarettes and liquor. What a stupid move. I mean, it did nothing observably good. It's just, I've had enough. And I'll tell you something else. Those people who kept telling you, put on your mask, fuck you all. All right. I've had enough of you people.
In New York, they're still battling this, right? They still have mask and vaccine things going on in the US and like different. Yeah.
Oh.
There's like a select few states that are still fighting this thing.
Jeez, that is absolutely
all right.
crazy.
Let's change the subject. Let's change the subject. You went now. Listen, I mean, sometimes we talk about shows on this show. We interviewed Craig Nobani. He came in and did the show one Monday morning with us, and he's doing a show called We Will Rock You, which ironically, my brother and sister-in-law and two nephews went to go and see, and they apparently loved it. And Ryan, you saw it on the same day. You saw it last week.
Yeah, I saw it Sunday night. I went, on the weekends, it seems like they do two shows, one at 2 p.m. and one at 6, which is crazy.
Right.
Because when I saw the show, Gareth, what a show. Like, when Craig walked in here, I'm not too familiar with theater work. Like, I've been to a couple shows, but obviously a lot of people are like, no, Craig's a legend in the game. He's been around doing this for a long time. And so when I saw him on stage, I was like, this is unreal. Honestly, you have to go see it. It's at Monte Casino. I don't know if it's going anywhere else, but it's so good. Like they didn't spare a cent on the sets. It's so premium. It looks so good. And what I liked about it most is, from what Dario has explained to me, they have an international cast, and then whenever they move from country to country, they get local. They put like local actors in, and then they write like additional jokes for that country. So like they even included some load shedding jokes in the in the production, which was hilarious to me. But it was, honestly, I haven't been to the Teatro in probably 5 to 6 years, and what a treat! Honestly, world-class production.
I'm just so happy you went. That's amazing to get the feedback, because sometimes we talk about these shows and we're like, oh, you must go and see it. And I mean, I don't go to any. So it's just as well you went. At least we get some straight up, honest feedback from Ryan. That's good to hear. Awesome.
Wow, Ryan.
I feel like if you have like a spare night, Gareth, you must just go get a seat there. It's oh man. And the thing was, so it was a bunch of 80s songs, so I knew most of them because it's mainly about Queen. But there's a couple others that they like dip into, and it's really, really good.
Whoa!
All of them can sing. Like it's great.
They have the Ryan producer Ryan badge of
stamp of approval. There we go.
There we go.
No, it was really cool.
Mash has got some things to talk about too. Apparently, so Mash and the Bung both came along to a big party that we had with Hunt Lascaris on Thursday last week, which was really incredible. I mentioned it briefly on the show on Friday. I think I spoke about it. There were about 600 odd people there. It was huge. And they invited anyone who'd ever worked there, and we were also doing some red carpet interviews, Mash and Lebang. I mean, it was actually incredible. Some of the most brilliant people in advertising in South Africa. You had fun, right?
I had so much fun, Gareth. And I even took a couple of videos. I'd actually like to share a video, just one short little video of Lebang just having a good time. And then I'm going to get to the story because there's a hashtag that's been circulating throughout the office, hashtag where is Lebang? And there's quite an interesting story behind this. But overall, it was an absolutely fun experience.
I'm getting it up now.
All right. So,
but you guys also dressed up, and Lebang went for like a 70s thing. She had big hair.
Lebang was dressed as a Black Panther.
Oh, was that what she was dressed as?
Yes.
I didn't put the two together.
With the beret, and it worked. She looked absolutely amazing. The garden lights that she complained about just last week, Tuesday, were in her hair, and they worked. I was like, damn, well, you put those to good use. And it was just so much fun overall. But as the night progressed, as the party kept going and popping, Lebang went missing. And I'd like to elaborate on where she went missing to as well, because I figured it out eventually. But yeah, first let's play the video and see exactly what happened.
The video should be up.
Very good. A bit of a mystery. All right, so let me play this. Let me see.
We're going to cry, laugh, and love. And we're going to do it together. The Life with Lebang podcast.
You suspect there, Matt. By the way, she looks terrific. I said it already.
Lebang looked absolutely terrific. And I think everybody there looked absolutely amazing. But Lebang was like just show-stopping more than anything, more than anyone. And as the night progressed, at about 11 p.m., Lebang's like, yo, let's go. And I was like, cool, let's get out of here because it's another work day tomorrow. So we have to continue with our day. And we go to the bathroom because we're both like, okay, let's go to the bathrooms and then we'll meet here on the 4th floor and then we'll leave together. Awesome.
Cool.
The plan was to come back to the office because I left my car there and I was going to just grab my keys and all my stuff is in the car, then just Uber home. And then when I leave the bathroom and go back to our meeting spot, there's no Lebang. And I wait there for about 30 minutes. There is no Lebang. I start looking around and
wait, you have a phone at this point, right?
I have Lebang's phone in my pocket. So as I'm asking people, hi, have you seen the lady with the hair that lights up? Everyone's like, just call her. I'm like, well, her phone's here, so I don't think that's a possibility. And I looked for Lebang up and down and left and right. I was just going floor to floor, as previously mentioned.
Wait, how many floors were there?
The party was 4 floors.
4 floors.
Yes, so
unreal.
Spanning from the 80s all the way to the 2000s. So actually 2010s. And we went floor to floor to floor just looking for Lebang. I even asked some of the security guards. I was like, please help me look for her. Just go floor to floor in the elevator yelling Lebang at every single floor. Wow. And we looked and looked and looked and we couldn't find Lebang. And then at around 1:30, I was like, yo, I am done, so I am done. My phone died even, so I couldn't even order an Uber. So I just asked a random stranger. I was like, hi, please order me an Uber. And I was like, you know what? I looked for Lebang for like 2.5 hours. I am tired. My feet hurt. I've just been standing looking. And I went home. And then obviously I was very much concerned at the same time. So I did also call some of Lebang's family members and so forth. And I was like, hi, please, is she home? Blah, blah, blah. What's going on? And yeah, so they were like, oh, okay, we'll look for her. And then in the morning, yeah.
That sounds very calm.
It sounded a bit too calm.
I admire Mash's resilience. Like he can ask a stranger to pay for an Uber for him. I mean, you can make shit happen. You know,
I asked the stranger to make the Uber cash.
Oh,
in particular.
Okay. Oh, yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, yo, please order me an Uber, make it cash. I don't want to bother you. Sorry for the inconvenience. And the stranger ordered me the Uber and cool. But I was still very much worried because it's been almost 3 hours and no Lebang. And then in the morning, cool, Lebang's at work. And I'm like, oh, where did you disappear to? Oh, and here's your phone, by the way. Where did you disappear to? And Lebang was like, look, remember when we went to the bathroom? I was like, yes. Yeah. I woke up in that bathroom.
Oh, wow. Okay, sure. Hey, it happens. It happens.
Hey, sounds like a good time.
That's how you know you had a good ass time. And I was like, but at what time? She's like, at like 3 a.m. We went to the bathroom. I was like, I'll see you just now. And I sat on that toilet and that was it. Lights out for me.
You know, when the advertising industry earned their reputation for being the most wild and hardcore partying people in the whole working world, it's because of parties like this. And I could tell I left at 9:45, somewhere like that.
Yeah.
Because I knew I had a show the next day, et cetera, et cetera. I knew there were going to be people there all night long. In fact, I said as I drove out, I was like, this thing's going to keep going until tomorrow morning.
Jeez. And people kept shouting, Sizo Hambak Seni, 6 to 6. I was like, what does that mean? They're like, yeah, they'll be here from 6 p.m. until 6 a.m. I was like, yo.
Can I be honest though? If you don't have people that party like that in the advertising agency, you are really, you're like messing with the wrong people. Because you need people like that.
Yeah.
And then you work for boring people. And
exactly.
You're boring yourself.
Absolutely. Oh. Yeah. You're coming up with boring ads as well.
I have to say though, if that happened to me now, I would not be able to handle the next day. I haven't pulled an all-nighter or like passed out from a party for a long time. And it's the worst feeling. I mean, especially when you wake up, like wherever you are. Now, they could have locked up, people might have left. It's a scary situation. She didn't have her phone with her, so there's nothing she could do. You had her phone.
Yeah,
Thank goodness Lebang did run into someone she interviewed on Live with Lebang, surprisingly. And that person was like, oh, Lebang! And then ordered Lebang an Uber home. So thank goodness for that.
No, because she said she didn't have any money on her either. She left all of her money at home or something as well.
Yes. So new podcast, Lou with Lebang. That's what Parallel Parking says.
Carlo says it sounds like death with Lebang.
But overall, I was just glad to see that Lebang is fine more than anything. And we had a good ass time.
So was it an open bar?
Yes, it was an open bar on every floor.
See, that's dangerous.
That's where the danger is. Yes, that is exactly where the danger is. But yeah, we learned our lesson, and I don't think we'll be doing that anytime soon. But we'll be doing that again, but not anytime soon. It was an awesome experience overall.
Let me remind you, as I said yesterday, that we are doing another Uncanceled event, and it is happening next week. So we want to extend an invitation to you this morning. If you want to join us, 150 Rand a seat. That'll get you a little drink, and you can join everybody. We could come be part of this live event. You can contact us in the following way. Just send us an email with your full name to contact@cliffcentral.com. You can book your place now, and it is all happening on next Thursday, the 13th of April, 6:30 in the evening. And we're going to have the UCT Vice Chancellor, who's been suspended. She's very controversial. Her name is Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng, and she will be joining us. Yes.
Prof. Phakeng is going to be the guest.
Brilliant.
Yes.
That is crazy.
She is. She's going to tell us the whole story, and she's got a lot of story to tell. She's been suspended from UCT. There's obviously a lot of stuff around student politics that we need to discuss. It's going to be very controversial. There's going to be quite a lot of debate and argument. It's going to be an event worth coming to, and that is Thursday next week, the 13th of April, 6:30. If you want to book a place, send us an email to contact@cliffcentral.com and do it ASAP so you can book your place. We have a limited number of tickets available. We're not going too huge on this one, but we would love you to book your place ASAP. So contact@cliffcentral.com, and those tickets are 150 Rand a seat. It'll include a little drink, and you can come and be a part of something special. So if you want to come, make sure that you join us. Contact at cliffcentral.com. Awesome. Gareth, where the hell is Anthea Gardner? I really thought that you two might make the beast with two backs good chemistry. No, but I did speak to Anthea the other day because it was her birthday. And she sent me she was driving around Cape Town or something, and she sent me a recording of She Works Hard for Her Money. And there was just her laughing in the background because, that's her theme music. Steve says, I just checked my Revix. It's 75% down. Anyone else? Jesus, that make me want to go and check. Let me go and check quickly. Ugh. Listen, I've ignored any of my crypto investments for the longest time, and I feel like I'm going to get the shock of my life because it's not looking good at the moment, right?
You're in it for the long. You're in it for the long run, not for the short. So just don't check it.
I don't know so much.
Don't check it. As some belief. Yeah. I'd also like to share some. Yeah.
No, I'm almost. I don't even know if I'm in it for the long run. To be perfectly honest, I'm like, it's so disappointing.
We're like, hey, let's just get this money out of here. Because wait, if it's gone 75% down, potentially, rather just stick it out and see if it could go possibly up, even the slightest bit, which it will.
Well, I'm up 2.31% in total, so that's not so bad. I don't know. Maybe you invested in some real shit. I mean, maybe Steve's just got terrible investment decision making. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just looked about 2.3% up. So there we go. We need an Uncanceled with DJ Fresh, says Captain Cook. Yeah, we will look at that. We've been talking to Fresh. He's another one that's on the list. Don't worry. Definitely looking at him. But yeah, if you want to come to this one, then join us. Contact at cliffcentral.com. Book your place now. Just threw that in there so that you would know.
We're all going to be there as well.
Yeah, and you'll also get to see our new offices,
place,
which is really cool. A lot of people want to know where we are, so you can come and check it out. All right. Where is that crypto guy, the one you used to have on the show, convincing us all to invest? Hey, nobody ever convinced anybody to invest. We said every time, you're in charge of your own life. We're going to tell you about this stuff, and you can decide what to do. And lots of people made lots of money, don't forget. So don't now, because you're miserable that your investments have gone south, start taking it out on me. Like I was the one going, you must invest. We were saying, and I think this is clear from any of the recordings, you can go and listen to it. Go and take a listen. All of them are there. They're still online. You can go and listen anytime you like. We were saying, put a little bit in, test the waters. It's something you might want to get involved in. Something I got involved in. I told you I did.
And it's the long game.
Listen, I'm glad I'm not 75% down, but we weren't selling you a scam. This is what everybody.
I made good money in the beginning.
Right.
In the beginning, I made good money, but you can't be mad when it's at the low point. You got to hold out at that low point,
In fact, put more money in.
Okay.
And Hardy Dave says, Mike, it's not like it's going any better in gold. Gold is doing nothing big, says Hardy Dave. I know that's another thing that I'm very disappointed. Listen, where do you think people are making money right now? It's a down economy. Everything is down. We've asked this question of everyone who's come on, including the financial advisors and the economists that we've had on from markets.com. And there's some of these people who watch every indicator. They've been saying to us, it's very, very hard for you to make good margin at the moment. You can't invest in stocks and shares. They're not exactly flying through the roof. Gold isn't climbing like like it's out of fashion. Bitcoin and crypto in general is down. So what do you expect? What do you want? You want us to make money out of thin air? You want to put money up your backside, fart it out, and it's going to be more?
Basically.
You come up with a better plan. Tell me how that works. Anyway.
No, I put fuel in on the way here. And I literally...
Steve does right. He rightly points out if you're an arms dealer, you're making good money. Well, yes, probably. Sorry, Ryan, what were you saying on the way here?
On the way here, I put fuel in, and I put in like $100, and I think I got like 3 or 4 liters. Didn't even like reflect on my tank, which is hilarious.
Why would you put $100?
Because I was running a bit late. I had to be quick. But I was like, damn, $100 you could at least see back in the day. You could it would make a difference on your tank. $100 now is like nothing.
I've told the story of how I once went to the petrol station, got $100, and then I actually came back and accused them of ripping me off because I didn't see. I was like, you didn't pour anything. I had a big old fight, and they're like, look, just drive around a bit, go shake the car. They even shook my car. And then it reflected. That was like half a bar. It was something though. But I do also want to share something quite interesting I came across. There is a new AI in town. As you know, AI is the new in thing. Every company is utilizing it. The likes of Adobe, Canva, everyone is utilizing AI, from Photoshop to even banking is now trying to utilize AI as well into their systems. Yes. So in so many ways, AI is the new in thing. But there's a new AI in town that I'd like to actually share with you guys. And this AI is called Benjamin. Now, I must also mention that I am on Benjamin. Not like Benjamin Button or anything, but it has quite an interesting name, and it is quite an interesting AI as well. So I am on Apple's test flight. Yeah. So it basically
I test apps before they come out.
Yes. Right. So sometimes years before, some apps don't even make it to market. So it's just about playing around and seeing what's next. What is next? One app that actually came through test flight that I was on, like probably 2 years before it even came out, was that app, man, where you could actually have lives of people just talking. I forgot what it's called, but now it's not relevant anymore, but it's fine. Then Twitter came along and opened Twitter Spaces, and then people forgot about that app. But so the new AI that's launching, that I'm hoping will launch soon, is called Benjamin, and it is an AI dating coach.
Oh no.
So if you're looking for a personal dating coach who can provide you with customized advice and recommendations, just look no further than Benjamin, your AI-powered dating coach. As your personal chatbot, Benjamin provides tailored advice and recommendations to help you with all your dating needs, from creating a successful dating profile to approaching someone you're interested in, or even handling tricky situations like ghosting and defining the relationship. Benjamin is here to offer insightful tips and guidance to fit your unique situation. So what makes Benjamin different from the rest? Yeah?
Mash, I could interrupt you. I mean, like, if you are going to need AI in order to start a relationship, what are you going to do when you actually are sitting opposite that person? Are you going to be going on your phone and asking the AI to help you with a conversation? What are you going to do,
Gareth? That's what you're going to do.
Being intimate with each other. Are you going to have your phone there on standby the whole time, saying, "Benjamin, please help. I'm not sure what to do. We're having sex. We're having sex with each other, and I'm not sure what my next move should be." And Benjamin is like, "Well, I think you should do this with your hand, please."
Well, here's an example of there's some screenshots of Benjamin here on test flight as well. I'm on the waiting list at the moment to get Benjamin just to play around with it. I'm in a happy relationship. I don't need it, but
we know.
So here's a good example. Somebody actually said to Benjamin, he canceled our date again, with a crying emoji. And then Benjamin responds, text this to him. Hey, I don't think this is meant to be. Take care and never speak to him again. You deserve better than him. Believe me, there are better people outside. That's what Benjamin said. And there's many examples and screenshots of Benjamin in use. Another one is, what should I say to take her out to dinner? And then Benjamin responds, mention a specific restaurant or type. Mention a specific restaurant or type of cuisine that you think she might enjoy based on your conversation. For example, I heard you enjoy Italian food. There's some great place downtown called La Trotadata. Would you like to join me for dinner there sometime? And this is the point we're at. Let's just accept.
That is quite clever. I hear people using AI for everything now. So it was only a matter of time before it would also become, the dating thing. So I do think it's kind of sad that there's some people who will need to ask artificial intelligence to help them approach another human being, but better that they have someone to rely on. I mean, a lot of these people probably would screw it up if you left it to them. So, all right, go. Let's see what happens. Mash, I'm glad that you're onto these things for us. You can test it all, even though you're not testing it for yourself. You could test it for the rest of us. And who knows? There might be a couple of people listening right now. There are a few people who are, online right now thinking, "Oh, I need all the help I can get." This is what they've been praying for.
Yes, you guys are sorted, Ryan. Y'all are sorted now. So I must also mention that the chat bot is based on ChatGPT. And it's based on ChatGPT. So all the information, all the back and forth and the processing is based off of the ChatGPT AI. And you'll be joining a community of like-minded individuals who are also on the journey to find love. And I saw also in the description, later on, they're looking at actually turning this into an actual dating platform where we even meet through the AI. We're talking through the AI. The AI is controlling every part of our relationship. You'll have a ChatGPT or rather Benjamin.
So what you're gonna have two like AIs talking to one another on a dating app.
Well, they're talking to us, and then we are.
No, because the other one is going to have a coach as well.
Right. Ryan's quite right that the other person will probably also be using AI. So you'll have two AIs talking to each other, and the humans sitting there like robots. It's like a complete reversal of the situation.
I believe this is the future, Ryan. You once chatted with someone and said, I don't enjoy the talking stage and having to type and think of what to say and all of that. So just get this AI. It'll do all the talking for you. And then you'll just see the person whenever and be like, oh, hi, who are you? Because you're nothing about them, just being AIing the whole time.
I think this is really dangerous. This is really, really dangerous. Let's see what happens. I mean, I'm excited to watch other people screw it up. That's all I'm going to say. Because what are you going to do when you are in a situation where you can't have the AI on standby to help you with everything? You're going to have to speak to someone, and actual human communication has to come into it. Let's see. Let's see what happens. What I said just now is, so now you've got the AIs talking to each other, trying to arrange a date for these humans who are sitting there like drooling idiots with nothing going on in their own head. Help me, AI. I can't get laid. All right. Listen,
that's the future.
We got it. No, I hope it's not. Quick story here. You guys both raised the price of petrol at the moment, and according to EWN, there is a major decrease in diesel and paraffin, and petrol shows slight changes as well. This is according to the Department of Minerals and Energy. They say motorists can expect a decrease on 93 octane petrol per liter, and an increase for 95 octane with 2 cents. So slight changes coming up. But apparently they said that the two grades of diesel will decrease by 73.58 cents and 74.58 cents a liter. So diesel will become cheaper, which is very good news. Also good news for those who use illuminating paraffin, wholesale price being decreased by around R1.24 a liter. Apparently the main reason is crude oil prices have decreased, and that has led to a lower price for all petroleum products. So the rand also weakened against the dollar during that period, so it took away about 37 cents a liter on all petroleum prices. But we are going to have a small decrease, especially for diesel users. So good news there. I'm driving a diesel car at the moment. Woohoo! Thought I'd throw that in.
Diesel's literally been so expensive lately, because normally I have a diesel car. This car I have now is the first car I've had that's petrol. Because diesel's now what, 25 rand plus?
Yeah,
per liter.
Yeah,
that's outrageous.
By the way, you know how we were watching all these billionaires and their rockets a couple of years ago, and everybody was all these billionaires are trying to go into space, and Richard Branson was going to get everybody to travel into space, nice and cheap, Virgin Orbit. Do you remember that whole thing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, apparently his rocket company, Virgin Orbit, has filed for bankruptcy in the US after failing to secure investment. Satellite launch company halted operations weeks ago, but it hopes to find a new buyer for the business. The company is based in California. said last week it would cut 85% of its workforce, which is about 600 odd people they're going to have to fire.
Oh.
Earlier this year, they failed to complete their first ever satellite launch from the UK. So they are going into bankruptcy. Sorry about that. That's not going to happen anymore. Are you upset?
It's quite crazy to me, like how they're trying to make space flights commercial. Like, do you remember when him and Bezos had like a race to see who could get space first?
Yes, they were trying
But
to
then
see. Yeah,
it was barely even space. They like literally just sort of left and then came back in.
Yeah.
They didn't like make a stop.
that was just a billionaire dick swinging contest. That's all it was.
Exactly.
They weren't trying to make it
They did.
commercial.
They just popped through the stratosphere. They didn't even like go into
Yeah.
outer space proper. So yeah, look, I have no desire. I know that there are people who are much more adventurous than I am. I have no desire whatsoever to go into outer space. Not interested.
Yeah.
Call me boring. I think Earth is fascinating enough. There's enough to see on Earth without you having to leave the realm of this planet. Sorry.
Also, if you want to go to Mars, you know how much work you're gonna have to do. You're gonna have to build a whole civilization up there.
What a horrible, inhospitable shithole Mars is. I mean, it's freezing cold for starters. It's like it's colder than anything you'll experience on Earth. There's no atmosphere, so you have to walk around like you're in scuba gear the whole time. You've got dangerous radiation coming from the sun, so who knows how you're going to protect yourself against that. It's a shit show. There is nothing. I'd rather stay on Earth until, something terrible happens on Earth. If I lived forever, I'd wait for the asteroids to hit me here. There's no way I'd go to Mars. Would you want to go to Mars? Matt, would you go to Mars?
I'd go to Mars in a blink. I would absolutely go. And I remember Elon Musk did also have some plan to terraform Mars by utilizing nuclear bombs and bombing both poles, the North and South Pole on Mars, because they've stored water there. They have frozen water. I don't know what ever happened to that.
It sounds great. You'll have nuclear water. You'll last even shorter than you would on Earth.
but
go for it.
I do know.
Mars is for MASH, so you are properly insane this morning.
I properly am. I do know that also trips to Mars. What happened to that? There was a project called Mars One a couple of years ago that people were signing up for, and they were like, by 2025 or something, people are going to be going to Mars. It's a one-way trip. You're not coming back. I think they said by 2025. I remember hearing about this in like 2010 or 11, and I was like, 2025 is so far. But now look.
We even interviewed one of those people who was going to go to Mars and Mars One. I think after what the world has been through in the last couple of years, that's really been put on the back burner, if you'll pardon the pun. I just don't see it. I don't see it being a priority right now. Who knows? I mean, obviously there are people who must keep pushing, the frontiers of human science and development, and good for them. But count me out. You can take MASH with you to Mars. I will not be joining.
I will be going gladly, and I'll be living my best life with nuclear water.
No, but just you have to build up infrastructure from the ground up. Like, we were born into properly built infrastructures. It's going to be like.
Ryan, we were born into a world where we can breathe the air and we can drink the water and we can eat the things that grow. I mean, that's a good start,
It's a very good start.
Unreal.
I'll build the infrastructure. Me and that lady that you interviewed, Gareth.
There's going to be no AI dating apps up there, Mash.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. We'll just be busy building, and that's the only thing I'm going there for.
You know what? So out of the 10 or so people at Cliff Central, you are our volunteer. We only need one.
Absolutely.
If anyone comes knocking on our door, we'll be like, yeah, there's the guy right over there. Just go to his office. We'll show you who he is. You could take him with you to Mars. And then, Mash, you can report back for all of us. And if it's something amazing and if it's incredible and you come back with superpowers, we will gladly give you all the credit for being brave. I'm not brave enough to go to Mars. Sorry, guys. Not going to happen.
I can just picture the headlines. Like if they were to go to Mars and people came back to Earth, like when someone leaves the country and then they come back, when they get so much shit for it. It's like, can you imagine when they get back from Mars? What, you couldn't stick it out?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Or
There is a
Mash comes back with a Martian accent. Can you imagine that?
Oh, Mash, you're only up there for like 2 weeks. How did you get
How
that?
did you're not saying batong every 5 seconds. There is a movie that I watched a couple of years ago that I really enjoy. Ryan Reynolds is in it. And Deadpool. It's called Life. Have you seen this movie?
No.
Basically, it's about a mission that goes to Mars, and they go collect some samples of previous life, because Mars used to be like Earth a couple of billion years ago. So they go collect some remnants of previous life, and then they actually managed to bring this form, this thing back to life, and it's alive now. And then this thing turns out, this little microorganism thing turns out to just grow very quickly and kill a whole bunch of people. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to spoil the movie, but check it out. It's on Netflix, I think, or Showmax.
They
I can't remember.
These alien things that they try to bring back to life, or that they bring to Earth, they always want to kill us. I'm just saying, I don't like that. That's not a great thing to. We should not be celebrating this. We should not be looking at this and going, yeah, these aliens, let's give it a try. I say the opposite. Stay the fuck away.
It's like animals. Like, don't mess with them. We're not meant to intertwine.
Right.
It's just not a thing.
Like the animals under the sea, Ryan. Leave them alone.
I stay away from the ocean. No way.
Me too.
And I have no desire to go and explore what's down there either. I'm just like, if I can't breathe under there, I'm not meant to be there. Right. So I'll happily stay here.
And Ryan, those things, they want to sting you, they want to bite you, they want to eat you, they want to look at what happened to Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter. You remember him? He was friends with all the animals.
Legend.
He like, I gotta look at this. I got a snake. The snake is massive. Look at him. He's huge. He's dangerous. He's got a big pair of jaws. Look at him. He's got poison in his glands or whatever. And then he climbs into the sea, and this calm, peaceful looking stingray goes past him, and he's gone. He's finished. He's done. Don't go there. Stay away from these things. You have no business interfering in stuff where you cannot breathe, or in places where we shouldn't be living. As a human being, there's a certain like Goldilocks zone of temperature you can exist in. You go into the cold, or you go into the extreme hot, or you go into the deep, or you go into the far reaches of outer space, you're asking for trouble.
I just think, look, in terms of outer space, this planet, look what happens to dinosaurs. We don't want that to happen to us. Last week, I actually went to the movies and watched a movie called 65 Million Years Ago. A visitor landed on Earth. You should check that movie out. It's very, very interesting. But overall, look what happens to dinosaurs, and that could happen to us. We have to be realistic. Whether it's in 1 billion years, 1 million years, 500 billion years, we have to diversify as humans and go to other planets as well. It has to happen.
What's the movie of yours called? I want to watch this.
65 million years ago.
It's just say 65. It's at Stoikiniko at the moment.
Oh.
65.
65.
Yeah. Not 69. 65. Yeah.
Oh, 65. Okay. I'm going to check this trailer out after.
Who's in it?
I don't know. I don't know his name. I think it's Keanu Reeves. I don't know what's his name. He looks like Keanu Reeves. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't know these people. But yeah, just
Adam Driver. It's not Keanu Reeves. It's Adam Driver.
He looks like Keanu Reeves, though.
Keanu Reeves is in that new movie that's out now. What?
Yes,
John Wick 4.
The one I'm watching tonight. Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Gentlemen, we have to wrap this up. We've got a special interview coming at you in the next hour. I think you're going to love it. It's like a masterclass in how the advertising world is currently structured, where it's going, what the future has in store. You're going to love this. It's really, really good stuff. We recorded it just last week, and I'm thrilled to be able to share it with you this morning. So all of that's on the way. Stick around, cliffcentral.com. It is Wednesday morning.
Every time you listen to that 80s show, Tom Cruise lives another 10 years. every Friday on cliffcentral.com. Paolo and Dory review movies, reminisce about old songs, remember childhood places that are now car parks, and say some outrageously rude things about Patrick Swayze's brother. That 80s Show. New episode every Friday, live or as a podcast on cliffcentral.com.
This week on the Auto Trader podcast,
Ever.
definitely going to see an electric future. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's not say even more likely. We're definitely going to see an electric future. It's just a matter of how fast that's going to be, as you pointed out.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so I'm saying 2045 in South Africa. The tipping point is going to be anywhere in the 2040s. Just because I just don't see government regulation changing fast enough.
Yeah.
To incentivize electric vehicles in the country at mass or at scale.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm wrong. I want to sit here next year and say it's not
No, we're wrong.
2040,
Yeah.
it's 2035.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know. Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
It is Wednesday morning. It is the 5th of April, and I'm very, very pleased to introduce to you two people who I had the pleasure of sitting down with just the other day. Troy Ruhanen is the president and the CEO of TBWA Worldwide. He's based in New York, and he's in charge of the entire global operation. A very, very smart man. Obviously, it goes without saying you don't reach those heights unless you've got incredible talent and skill and ability in very many spheres. Luca Gallarelli is the CEO of TBWA here in South Africa, and they sat down for a final interview in a series that we've done to celebrate the 40th birthday of Hunt Lascaris. And really, the reason we got involved in the first place is because I've had the good fortune, as has my business partner, of being friends with John Hunt and Reg Lascaris for a long time. So, you know, it made sense that while they were celebrating, we could help document some of the stories in this incredible tale of TBWA and how in South Africa they became an international agency, a global agency, excellent global agency on a level that so many businesses in the world wish they could. But I talked to these two people this morning, and you get to see it all. We'll do a little tour de force of the culture, the future of advertising, managing creative people, disrupting everything in your path. And you and I get to share in it here for the first time for you, and for the first time for many people here on the show. So here it is. Take a look at this. I think it's going to give you some serious insight into how that whole business works. Here are Troy and Luca. The fascinating conversations with the amazing people here at TBWA in Johannesburg, in South Africa, and now also worldwide. So we reserved for our final episode and for our final time capsule to really denote the incredible achievements of 40 years of this business. Luca, who is the CEO of TBWA hunt Lascaris in South Africa. It's a big responsibility. And we found this guy wandering around in the corridors downstairs. He looked like he was trying to sort of get his way through the door to come to the party. We're not sure if he's actually meant to be here. I mean,
I took a job as an intern this week and thought it'd be good because I hear you can come to the party if he's somehow connected to the agency.
He's promised us 4 months of free work in return for a couple of
Well,
years.
you get that every year. You get 12 months. But,
Troy Ruhanen is the global CEO. You're the big boss of TBWA Worldwide. And I'm sure that you two actually have quite a lot of conversation with each other. I mean, you must be talking a lot of the time. But today, I want you to talk about the place and the people.
Sure.
And the stories. I mean, we can go through your CVs, which are very impressive. Both of you, many, many awards, being in a position of prominence and having to make the deciding call on so many things. But it is a place that John and Reg said in the first interview is made by the people.
Yeah.
You think that's right?
Yeah,
Luca?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, I was drawn to this place because of the people. I knew after 5 minutes of having met John that I had to work here.
You were drawn to this place because you were actually from the Eastern Cape and there's no reason you wanted to stay there. Come on.
I was living in Cape Town at the time, but yes, I thought perhaps there's an opportunity to get back there, as Eastern Capers. But yeah, it really is. It's about the people. It's always been about the people. John and Reg, right through to Rena, anyone and everyone who's ever worked here has left an incredible mark on this agency. And it's a real privilege to, be a part of that story in some small way.
See, I know that's true because I used to come here occasionally because, Rena would have meetings here and then I'd come and join her. And everybody from, the women who cleaned the bathrooms, everybody knew everybody's name. And there was a friendly atmosphere. There was a fun element to it.
Yeah.
It was a serious place where stuff got done, but it's also a place where people came because they were passionate about what they did. And, that's a difficult thing to manage from anywhere in the world, but to manage the whole world in that kind of vibe is a very difficult thing to do, isn't it, Troy?
It is, but I feel, I think with our culture at TBWA, I mean, for starters, it was Hunt Lascaris first before it was TBWA, right? And so the trick with acquisitions is not to change the company that you so badly wanted to buy. And so that's very much why I love the fact in sort of our naming architecture, it's either the local agency first or the local agency second, but there's that backslash in between the two of us, and it's the backslash is the gateway to the other agency that connects each other. So either to the global agency or to the local agency. So we never ever want to take the name off the door. Like when we buy agencies, we don't want to take the name off the door. It's like we see so much strength in that local culture because people are attracted to that. And then it's what else can we bring to the table as a global company? So what are the tools and opportunities and clients that we can bring and things like that? So it's always about the 1+1 in this scenario. And we will never buy an agency for a client. We don't do that. And John has been religious about that from the day I've known him. We always buy it for the people. And we buy it for the management, and then we buy it for the second tier of management. We want to know what the succession plan is. So we always buy the people because the people make the culture and the people make the work. And then it's up to us to be able to help them get to their best potential, reach that potential. So I think we're incredibly fortunate in this culture to have that. So whether it's Chai Day or Lulara, you go around the word Tehran, there's so many of them. That's the beautiful thing, and Hunts is like the shining example of it.
But with all these children, do you ever forget who's who?
No, never, because their cultures are so different, and it's about understanding, embracing difference, but unifying it through the lens of disruption. And I think that's like we don't have
that's the word, right? I mean, when
it
I
is,
think TBWA, the disruption word, you've managed to brand that properly.
Let's be honest, right? There are a lot of global networks that I don't know what they stand for. And if we're just being blunt, right? And I don't know how you can advise a client if you don't know who you are yourself. And I think, we really do understand ourselves and we're very proud of what we are. And we're united by that across the globe. So then it's a matter of then understanding that there's strength in difference. And then it's how do we work as what we call as a collective. So we decided 7 years ago to get rid of the name network. We hate that phrase because it's all about dot to dot and how many offices do you have, and it seems very ego-driven and not very connected. And I think we're much more
like a technical term.
It does. It sounds, to be honest with you, it sounds like a guy's resume. And we're not really interested in that. And I think we're much more interested in, like, we always talk about 11,000 creative minds. Like, that's the thing we talk about. Never, and I don't even know how many offices I have. I don't count it. I purposely don't. But I do know, Luca, I do know people's names, and I'm much more interested in terms of what are we doing, how are we progressing, and how is the agency culture coming along. And I can tell 3 minutes walking into the door how we're going.
So, Luca, I mean, you've known Reg and John for a while, and before that, probably by reputation.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've got some funny stories about, first of all, how you got involved here and how that first meeting might have gone with John, for example.
Yeah.
But I know you've also got some stories. So tell us, just to be nostalgic for a minute, because it's worth doing this after 40 years of celebrating.
Yeah, look, I mean, I met Reg in the strangest place. I was at a client event in Franschhoek at a client dinner where Reg had no business being. And there was a band playing on stage. And midway through the set, they started to introduce the members of the band. And the lead guitarist was interviewed as advertising legend Reg Lascaris. I was like, what? And I was working for a competitive agency at the time. I was like, what, is that really Reg? And I kind of squinted my crappy eyes and I looked. I was like, shit, it really is Reg. So in the break, I ran up to Reg and I said to him, Reg, my name is Luca. You've never met me. It's a genuine privilege to get to meet you. He was like, fantastic. And then I had to reintroduce myself
he's the most
to him
humble guy
back in Franschhoek.
But isn't he the most humble guy ever? I mean,
no, amazing.
Here he is.
Absolutely amazing.
He's been a part of the advertising story of this country in ways that, I mean, you cannot replicate.
Yeah.
And he's just so chilled about it. Oh, it's nice to meet you.
Totally.
Tell me about you. Meanwhile, he's playing the guitar like a rock star as well.
I think we use the word kind of legend and icon quite flippantly. And I think that there are very few genuine icons, specifically in our industry. We tend to glorify people maybe potentially a little bit too often. But I think John and Reg stand alone, really, as genuine icons of the industry in South Africa and genuinely globally. I can't speak, personally, having lived or worked in other agencies around the world, but I know that.
It's almost like Tom and Jerry, Rick and Morty.
Yeah, exactly.
Reg,
Exactly.
Let's
when I used to work, for a competitive agency, my father would always go, Hunt Lascaris, and
must have irritated you, but
it irritated me at the time, but I feel very privileged to be here.
No, it's amazing. And for you, Troy, when was the first time you encountered John?
Well, so I just got the job and I get this call from John Hunt, who I obviously knew the name. And being Australian, obviously we admired the fact that there was this great South African agency that was dominating the world creatively. So anyone in the Southern Hemisphere, New Zealand, South Africa, Australia, you kind of all want someone to succeed on that front. And so we all knew about them. But I hadn't had the chance, to, obviously, through the process, to meet him. And then I get this call after I just joined. And John's like, look, it's fabulous. I'm really glad you're here. I'd love to come and see you. I'm like, well, that'll be a privilege, John. Thank you so much. I really welcome the opportunity. He goes, how about I come in about 3-4 weeks? I'm like, superb. That'd be great. Let's meet. So I'm really looking forward to it because I've heard so much about this guy. And so he comes into the office and he says, look, it's really great to meet you, but I want to resign. And I was like, I think my 12-year-old has dated girls longer than we've had actually been together right now. That is the shortest romance I've ever seen.
Did he mean it or was he winding up?
He was like, look, I think it's time. I think I'm done. I'm like, how about we go have lunch, John? Let's just go have lunch and have a bit of a chat. And then let's just get to know each other a little bit. And then we'll see how it kind of goes from there. So I've been taking John to lunch now for the last 9 years, just putting it off for as long as what we possibly can. And he is gleefully happy. Look, the place was in a different state then. And we're obviously a far cry from that. And I think John has just been such an incredible partner to me, working with the Creative Collective. He has such respect. You have no idea about the people who are the creative leaders of our company, how much they look up to him. Some true name, they call him Dad. And he has that much respect for them. They will literally say, Dad, I need some advice. And so he's an incredible mentor beyond obviously a creative evaluator and someone who can help facilitate getting that work from good to iconic. He's just an incredible human being. And so he's able to do that. And then Reg, he's the Greek god. I mean, everyone knows that. He doesn't age. The guy, it looks like he's still 45. And
Clearly.
But, I feel for Luca because everyone else in this company seems to go bald, but only Reg and Luke. So Luca's going one way or the other. I don't know which way.
Mediterranean thing they've got going.
Yeah, he seems to be. But the rest of them down here, they seem to be losing it, mate. But I'd be worried for you.
Right?
But,
So you hinted at something just now that I think is worth just exploring for a minute, because there are accolades and things I want to talk about too that really matters in this industry. It's a very important barometer for where you are. And you guys have got shelves and shelves full of awards. Luca, when it comes to managing the place through the ups and the downs, and now you're in charge here and you're in charge globally, how difficult is that? And how much has advertising changed? Because nothing can really prepare you for all of that.
Yeah, I think Troy often speaks about us being in beta, and I don't always being in beta, and I don't want to steal
no, you go
a little
for
bit
it,
of his
bud.
thunder, but I think that's it's a mode of operating that you have to become accustomed to. You have to become
always testing yourself.
Always testing yourself, always understanding that every day is going to bring different challenges and you're going to need to learn and evolve through those.
Right.
And that just because, I was successful yesterday and I can hopefully apply those learnings today, doesn't mean that what got me to the successes of the past will get me to the successes of the future. So, this constant need to live with the kind of discomfort that brings, the constant need to, I suppose, develop new kinds of muscle memory in terms of how we apply ourselves every single day in our jobs, and creating an environment where everybody understands that kind of the muscle memory that's brought them to this place that often brings comfort is something that we need to continue to test, because it's only when you tear at things and embrace certain tensions that you're able to evolve effectively and create the kind of environment where innovation can really and truly live. And if we're not innovating as an agency through our creative product, through the technologies we're using, then we're redundant, just because the spreadsheet or the balance sheet may tell a story. I'm not really that interested in that. There's a feeling in the place that is the canary down the gold mine.
You said you could walk in and tell how you're doing almost immediately. Is that like a sixth sense, or do you get the feeling from the work that's coming out? Do you get the feeling from the attitude of the people inside? I mean, a lot of what Luke is saying is, I'm not in the business, but it makes perfect sense to me what he's saying. Is that a top-down thing or is it a bottom-up thing?
Bottom up, without doubt. And I think we're very much a bottom-up culture. We talk about being the world in versus New York out, and I think that's a strength of ours. So we get energized, solutions that come from four corners of the world, and we find whatever we think is great, and then it's all about share, speed, and scale. So that's what we mean about like always being better. It's like there's always room to improve and always be able to go discover what's next. And so how do we make sure that we keep innovating and staying ahead of the competition, but also really catching up to the consumer, because the consumer is ahead of us more than anyone, right? So it's more about making sure we have that mindset, getting rid of complacency. I mean, we have the disruption label to live up to. You can't be stagnant when you're disruptive, and so you've always got to be looking for that next thing. And then, I want to make sure that we keep reminding ourselves always, look, we're a creatively driven company. And a creative company is a curious company. It is always looking for what's next. It's always trying to see what's around the corner. It's always looking for that solution that no one's ever seen before. And so I love disruption. Like, I love the notion of that. I remember I was at a different agency in 2003 and presented it to our board and told them that I thought that this was genius. And then I joined 11 years later. But I just, really believe in that mentality. And so we really do. You'd be amazed at how many things come from offices of under 70 people that are now deployed globally. So it really does prove it. I love that coming in, and we believe in that coming from, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, those kinds of places where you can change the whole company from that corner of the world. And I think that's fantastic.
Well, both of you can answer this one, because I think John and Reg's initial vision was to create a world-class agency from South Africa. And I don't think it's any misrepresentation of what's happened. South Africa seems to be a place where, because there are unbelievable challenges and it's completely different and it's diverse as hell, we come up with quite a lot of interesting ideas. And I'm sure that there are ways, Troy, that you've seen that South Africa's kind of led the way for the rest of the business.
Oh, yeah. It's this is a holding company without the bureaucracy of a holding company.
How do you manage that? Because it's easier said than done.
No, how does he manage that, right? So he does that incredibly well because it's a matter of not looking at it as like it's a spreadsheet, right? And that's what people ultimately fall into, that it keeps a level of siloism happening versus really getting it to collaborate and be able to come together. So you could probably work out how many times you see Magna Carta, Yellowwood, and Grid all next to what these guys are doing, right? And then we've got all of our relationships, and they really come together often. And so it's a matter of understanding that there's strength in numbers and being able to do that. And then it's about obviously surprise and delight, like what the output is.
Yeah.
So like when Pete Curry did Joburg Ballet, it's like one of my favorite things. I don't know if you remember that work, but it was absolutely superb, right? And that was a demonstration of us being able to really embrace disruption live. And he showed the way that it didn't have to just be like a retweet back at somebody. Yeah. It was actually a way
or a massive income stream. It wasn't going to be with the Joburg Ballet, right?
No, but it was a way of us understanding like this is a behavioral change as a company that we need to look at.
Right.
Pete took that, did it superbly, did it with craft. It was an absolute showcase for our company.
You agree with that?
Yeah,
have you ever felt like New York has imposed itself on you?
No, never.
Well, you're not going to say so now.
You know what? Actually, I would, because Troy does create a kind of environment where I can speak frankly about things. But no, I mean, I feel very lucky to work in an environment where I feel like I'm accountable to deliver on what is my mandate. I feel like I'm given the space to do it in the way that I believe is right, and I get to do it with all of the support that I believe I need. That is always there when I need it, whether it be Troy is if I send, and I often tell people, the accessibility I have to Troy is remarkable. If I'm ever in trouble, and even if it's not trouble with a capital T, right, small t, I can always just send him a WhatsApp, and I know within 10 minutes he'll be on the phone to me, or there'll be a WhatsApp back, and that's remarkable. And I don't have to use it often because I know that we think in similar ways. And I know that I have his full backing, which is fantastic.
That's very cool.
You mentioned the question about, or you mentioned the statement about South Africa as a country and as an environment, and I think that our industry is quite reflective of that environment in terms of innovation does grow in South Africa. We are exporters of innovative, resilient people, because we are an environment that is fraught with tension. Yeah. Right? Some good, some bad. But we use that tension hopefully positively. And within our agency world, to create the holding company without the bureaucracy is you've got to embrace the tensions that exist, right? And diversity inevitably tensions will emerge. The challenge is how do you harness those tensions to create more interesting solutions, and how do you eliminate the toxic tensions? So being very deliberate about what are the toxic tensions, how are we eliminating those things? What are the positive tensions? How are we doubling down on those things?
Well, I mean, ironically, the tensions are a great source of disruption.
100%.
Which is what you're looking for, 100%. Right? So if that's your goal, this is a
100%.
Great canvas to play on.
If I came into this role and sought to engineer all the tension out of our business, there's no question it would be an easier business to work on the inside of, but it'd be a hell of a boring.
Bland.
The work wouldn't be what the work should be.
Yeah. So that's why it's also worthwhile having people back in the office, because the platform of Teams or whatever you want, Zoom, it didn't have as much tension in it, didn't have as much depth to the conversation, didn't have as much stretch. And so, my old boss used to say, look, it's okay you got to learn how to manage friction, because that's how you get fire. And I thought that's a really good way of understanding our job as leaders ultimately. And John's had to do that for all of his career in Reg. To be able to really understand all the skills that are at the table, understand different points of view, but then get them to that place where they need to get to. And so I think, and that's why we love the job, to be honest with you, because it's not the same job every day.
But it is also very difficult to manage creative people. They always say it's like herding cats. And do you think that it would be easier to do what you do if it was just the financial people, or those hugely organized and systematized people? Because the creatives almost, they do have to run wild a little bit.
it would be easier for someone else to do. I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't want
because
it.
I wouldn't be interested in being here. Quite frankly.
Yeah.
Troy and I, we're both in this game because we're inspired by the work.
Yeah.
We're both in this game because we're inspired about being a meaningful part of producing amazing work, because that's our product at the end of the day. And yes, creative people are different, but that's the beauty of it. I mean, we've got to embrace all types in our business.
Yeah.
Particularly the misfits, actually.
And they want to be with you.
Hope so.
Definitely. I think my first boss, even though I wanted to be on sort of client service, and those days we didn't have planning, but he made us do a portfolio in our first year, even though we didn't want to be a creative. And his whole motivation was so that we would understand how difficult it was and what our responsibility was in helping someone look at a blank piece of paper and make it into something. So it was a really great bit of guidance there to be able to sort of understand, like, we all have a role in getting the work to there. I think it's when creators get frustrated when people don't care as much on the other side. And so when they see a level of apathy or just like order taker or whatever else, that's when they get frustrated because they don't feel a partner that's with them. They're trying to help solve the problem. I've never had a difficult conversation with a creative when you're really trying to be constructive. So I just don't think that that's an issue. I have petulant planners. I have account barons. You have them all, right? It's all different types, but the job is get everyone around the table. Let's really understand what the opportunity or the problem is. Let's go work at it. And that's why you need people that really do want to be together.
How much of advertising has changed because now there's a lot of data involved. There's a lot of technology involved. If I look at some of the stuff that this agency is most famous for, from yesterday right the way back to when John and Reg started in '83, there is a genuine output of just amazing work. But it has become harder, I'm sure, because now, Luca, you've got so many more inputs. You've got social media, and you've got people who are constantly commenting and appraising work that isn't for them even.
Yeah.
And they're these people who are tempted to make knee-jerk reactions because something is getting, some kind of trending going on Twitter or something, and you suddenly get nervous about stuff that before you wouldn't listen to some guy shouting at you on the street. And that's effectively what Twitter is.
Yeah.
How much do you have to incorporate that thinking into sometimes being braver than you might have been when you didn't have to listen to people?
Yeah, I think, it has changed. And I think that the creative process is always enriched by stimulus. Right? I'm always interested by interesting, diverse stimulus being in the space, right? And I think that what social media has done, and the amplification of voices, and certainly the proliferation of data, has provided more interesting stimulus that are the building blocks for any creative idea. I think that the challenge is always we've had to become more effective at filtering out the noise. Because there's a lot of noise, and that's noise we create in our own heads. That's noise that exists in our client relationships. 100%. So I think that the creative processes and the role of strategy has always been about taking a lot of noise, a lot of complexity, and making it unbelievably simple. And I think that is a truth that still exists today. I think that sometimes we forget that as an industry. I think if we could reorientate ourselves around that thing, I think as an industry, particularly in South Africa, would be all the richer for it.
Yeah, no, I think well said. I think we talk on one of the things we say on Apple is that strategy is about sacrifice, and so it's okay to get a number of inputs, but in the end, we have to get down to clarity. And I think I think that there's been lots of great inspirations from data points that have come in. So I think the only challenge is not to try to put them, into a handful and then throw it at the consumer, hoping that they catch all those messages. So it's a matter about being clear with, with what you're going to do with that empirical bit of advice. I think that the challenge with data, I think, is a little bit about this fascination of buying media ahead when you haven't really interrogated the brief and looked at the customer journey and about how you could really disrupt that. I think sometimes there's a bit of a presumption, and it's done from an efficacy standpoint, where you look at the sort of year ahead of media, you book this, you do that. but you don't really know what the business challenge is at that time. You don't know the competitive context at that time. You don't really know the business problem you're solving at that time. So how could you already make the decision on how you're going to then show that to the world?
And it's harder than ever to reach people because there's so much noise.
Yeah, it's definitely cluttered. I mean, I think a lot of clients need to really take a hard look at how much messaging they have themselves out there. I mean, one of the things that I say, a lot of clients ask me, they're like, well, what's one of the advices that you would give me? And I'd say I would reduce your marketing stuff. Really? I think you got too many marketing people, because too many marketing people create too many, they believe, and I understand why. There's a lot to do in marketing. I actually have a lot of empathy for clients because I think they've got a lot to cover in terms of the experience now. However, there are too many people who then have a thing that they need to then go prove. They've got to go message something. So then they go and employ somebody, go employ somebody different, whatever else. And then you just get this fragmentation of the strategy. There are too many messages out there. So then you get to dilution ultimately. And so, I think in the end, I do think it's a matter of like really getting clear, looking at how much you're out there. Because if you're creating your own clutter first, then you go up against your competitor, then you go up against culture, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So you've really got to be very clear about a few things that you want to be as a business, and then do that superbly well to break through against your category. Then hopefully the world notices you.
Yeah. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think Troy's 100% right, and I think that there's a proliferation of a lot of average out there. I think in terms of the work, I don't see. I'm quite hard on us as an agency and quite hard on us as an industry, and I think that the work isn't good enough. And I think it's because we've become very distracted by what Troy is talking about now. I think if we got back to focusing on the power of an amazing creative idea and how that idea manifests through the whole customer and consumer experience, I think we'd start to see better ideas manifest and more impact happening in terms of our clients' brands and businesses.
So you guys have, as part of this business, received just about every accolade in the book. I was talking to John about his Hall of Fame thing the other day.
Great.
I mean, that's just a crowning achievement on years and years of doing incredible stuff. And I know how important that is, not just because the clients like it and not just because the rest of the advertising industry looks to it and goes, okay, that's the best. But what does it actually mean to you guys as the head of the business here in South Africa and globally? Are you looking at that in some spreadsheet way and counting up the awards, or is there something else going on? Is there another way to evaluate this?
Well, I don't like the way in which Cannes has gone at all. And I do feel like it's through companies that are obsessed with getting short lists and getting bronzes and whatever else. I only really care about Grand Prix and golds. I don't really care about the rest and where we finish on a table. No one remembers where Wyden finishes any year.
No.
Right? No, we don't care if we finish third or 10th. We don't really care. We know what's good work. We've done thousands of pieces of good work. So I'm much more interested about what do we think? Like, do we really think that that is the best work that we're doing right now? So, and I'm only really interested in really breaking through and then that it really delivers massive impact. So for me, when it adds up to being something like, okay, we're the most innovative company in the world, like I like those accolades. That feels great. That feels like we continue to progress. And if you get a Network of the Year award, that's great because it means that everyone's winning and everything else. But I know we just had a Worldwide Creative Director meeting and I sit through that for 3 days. We go through all the ads. I go through it every time because that's our product. And we sit there and we know in that room where we are. We don't need any other judge to tell us. It's great to get confirmation.
That's powerful.
But we know. And we know where we've got to improve and what we need to do. The bigger thing is, the thing I love is after Cannes, and John does this with me and Pete does it, we go to Paris on Monday and Tuesday after Cannes. And then we look at every single piece of work that we did versus the work that won. And then we say, what's the difference? And then it's about taking those learnings and then going back and reapplying that inside of our next chapter of work. And they're my 2 favorite days of the year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awards?
Look, I mean, by nature, we were talking about this last night, I'm pathologically competitive. So let's just start there.
That's why you're in charge.
That's why I kind of like Luca.
But look, it is important. And for all the reasons Troy mentioned, I think, awards for us are an objective measure on how we're doing. I want us to be winning all of the time, quite frankly, whether it be on creative award stages, whether it be on creative effectiveness award stages, whether it be on digital award stages, whether it be on the ad focus agency of the year stage. I think awards bring they demand excellence of you consistently. It sets a standard and a legacy that is to be maintained. And I think that puts a positive sort of level of pressure into a business. And it says, what is the standard we expect of ourselves? And that standard is incredibly high, and it creates a sense of responsibility, right? At the end of the day, we're living in a time where creativity is more important than it's ever been, and I want to make sure that we have the best bench of creative thinkers in the country, in our agency collective, whether that be in the creative department, in the strategy department, in the account management department, at reception. I don't really care. I want everyone to be stimulated by that. It sort
of reminds me of that line, I think it was from The Rock, where Sean Connery, one of the characters says, "I'll do my best." And Connery goes, "Your best." Yeah. Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen. And I mean, it's probably not PC for 2023, but that's still the attitude.
Sean Connery,
right?
though.
Yeah, very Sean Connery.
He lives up to his.
So looking ahead, because you guys have got the steering wheel in front of you, you're at the controls. What do you think is going to happen in advertising? How are you positioning yourselves to be disruptive in the future? And what kinds of ambitions do you have for the business? We'll start with you, Luca.
I mean, I think, I think as advertisers and marketers, we've always known that every opportunity, every moment a consumer engages with a brand is an opportunity to have an impact, right? And that a brand is a sum total of somebody's experiences that they've had throughout their entire lives. I think our ability to impact that meaningfully with real intelligence is more potent today than it's ever been. And the opportunity for us is to be the best at doing that, to make sure that we understand the consumer better than we've ever understood the consumer. And I think, to be frank, I think there was a period sort of between 10 and 20 years ago when I first got into the industry, we lost sight of that, right? I think we used to have very strong, insightful people in our business. And I think that the rise of sort of the internet and the common window on the world, I suppose, blunted strong, positive insight. And I think now that we've able to identify sort of insight at quite a granular level gives us a real opportunity to inject true insight. When I say true insight, I mean with a capital I, back into the thinking and the work. And it's our responsibility to be those custodians of each and every one of those touch points for our clients.
I think my forecast ahead would be that more work is going to look alike. I think there's going to be a lot of conventions that are going to be built based around platforms, based around, I think, some clients using data that tell them in testing that sort of gets them to a very familiar place. So I think that, unfortunately, more is going to look like that, which I think is a great opportunity for a company like us because we want to go up against that. So I think, unfortunately, creatively, there's going to be a lot of worse advertising. And then there'll be those that then stand out. Secondarily, I think there'll be a bunch of bad agencies that are going to go out of business, just like bad banks, just like bad airlines that will go out of business. There'll be more merged agencies, and they're not too distant future, no doubt. And some of those holding companies and whatnot, those that don't believe in the brands as much, and there'll be more entrants that will come in that will be different. More. We've seen a lot of independence rise, in the last few years around the world. So I think there'll be those that still want to stand out and specialize in certain areas. So I think there's just going to be that dynamic, and so that's why the imperative is to keep evolving. That look at every day as the next chapter, and look and know that we constantly talk about. Look, we're never going to retire satisfied, and we're never going to really reach our full potential. It's just because the business changes all the time, so you just have to get used to that. And the fact is, you got to just keep moving and changing. So So for us, it's not about being the masters of what we have done. It's about, starting to be the students and the people who can apply about what's coming next. And that's exciting for a curious, creative mind. You want to be. I want to learn more things. Yeah. So I think that's a pretty exciting place for a great company that believes in itself.
Love it. I mean, this idea of always being in beta, always being fighting fit, and you're going to win some, you're going to lose some.
Oh yeah.
But you got to take the chances, right?
Yeah.
And come up with stuff that's completely wacky. Sometimes it gets you into big trouble.
Yeah.
And sometimes do all the things that are unconventional, no matter how unpopular they seem at the beginning.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember when I was in Australia, we were fired from a client that was our number one client. They were at an all-time high in sales, in equities, everything. And we got fired. And they basically had fired all their suppliers, anyone that was a supplier to them. They fired everyone. They called it a refresh project. And so I don't ever live in fear of being fired anymore, because even when we're great, we can be fired. So all I'm more worried about is, can we live up to being great? And I just want to go do great work, because after that, I can't control anything else. I know that. I can control what we do. And so I think that's the thing I'm most worried about, is if we look around the room and we just see good, that's not going to be very satisfying to me. We have to get to that next level. And that's what John and Reg have shown here. They thought beyond South Africa. They thought well beyond these borders, that they wanted to get to a world-class level, and they did it. And I think that's the crowning achievement for me, which is never confine yourself to a small opportunity. Really look beyond that. And I think John and Reg have shown a way to a host of people that have come through here that have gone on to careers in many great places and done some amazing things. And I think they're just a great example of how you can think much bigger than the place that you're born in.
Can't think of a better way to end it than that. Thank you both so much. Power to you both. I hope it's going to be another 40 years of incredible things.
Man. I won't be here. I promise you.
I don't know if any of us will.
No chance.
Luca probably will. He's aging better than the rest of us.
He's Italian. They always look good.
But I think this is just a tremendous place to be. And happy 40th.
Thank you, man.
Gareth. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.